Okay, I'm going to talk about Deadly Premonition today. Now, Deadly Premonition has to be one of my favourite games of the year, and as many of you are aware, the plot can be slightly confusing towards the end, so I hope that I'm going to gather some of my opinions and some of the theories gathered on the internet, and I'm going to provide an explanation the best I can towards the ending and the plot itself. Okay, so let's get straight to the point. Okay, so at the end of the game, we fight Thomas, who was the cross-dressing blah blah blah. Yeah, I didn't really like that part of the plot. Basically, just a cross-dresser that had a crush on George and York, and he was kind of jealous of Emily because George had a crush on her. And so the game kind of sets us up thinking that Thomas will be the killer. But I mean, you might have seen the clues, but it's actually George that was revealed as the killer. There are plenty of clues like that, such as him like not wanting to help York with the case, and he's accidentally killing Becky and Diane. But then, as soon as we find out that he's the killer, we go and have a big boss fight. It turns into Super Saiyan. It's just weird, really. Uh, and we can even tell towards the start of the game even that he might be involved somehow because of the scars on his back. The scars do hide the upside down peace mark symbol, which is actually a red tree, as we find out later on. He believed he could become immortal by the red seeds from the red tree, and that's why he sacrificed the girls in his club. Okay, so that's basically what George's intentions were as the killer, but that's not all explained yet as we move on to Casein. Now, Casein's a very interesting character because we don't really find out his true intentions until towards the end. So, as we get the flashback to Harry's past in the 50s, we see that the military is flooding Greenvale with that purple gas emission things, and it's kind of strange, really. But as you might spot in that scene at the top of the clock tower, you see a really overweight person that just looks just like Casein from behind. Can't really see his face. So now this was a bit confusing at first, but basically Casein is from some other dimension, like the other worlds, and he either created, now that's one theory actually, he either that he created the red seeds in the real world from his dimension, and he's some kind of weird creature thing in the other world, which is where obviously where you find the enemies. That's one theory though, but another theory is that he was actually a normal human a long time ago that discovered the red seeds and that they could make a person immortal, so he obviously used that to become immortal. And if you took that into account, then you'd have to know that he was a high-ranking officer in the military when he found the seeds, and he possibly used Greenvale as an experiment with the red seeds, which obviously, when the gas sent off and turned the town crazy and trying to kill each other, which also is another theory for why the other worlds occur in the game. He looks normal in the real world, he's all cheerful and fat and but when you go into the other world, he changes into one of those weird creature that you see at the end. Like giant. It looks a bit like a lizard or something. He likes to call himself an agent of the Red Tree, which suggests that he likes to, he's going around the world, as he travels around the world planting more trees and using women as soil. So he kind of wants to grow more red trees and uh, the red seeds, and just to probably further boost his immortality, probably just because he can, and that's why he used Zack's mother as the soil, because he just does it. He just uses random women as soil. So Zack's mother was used as well, and and if you did pay attention to the cutscene for the 1956 flashback, you will notice that there are clues to him being the antagonist here, with him seeing an overweight person at the top of the clock tower and everything. Okay, I'm going to talk about Zack and York now. This is a very confusing plot twist for some, myself included, I'll admit. but I think I can provide an explanation for it all, and it's not actually too difficult to understand when you think about it. So when we see as York, we see both his parents dying due to Casein there because of his red sapling trees, and he wants some more red seeds, like I explained before. Unable to cope with the death of his parents, Zack actually created York himself. So Zack was the real person, but York he's kind of like a second personality in the sense that he's more of a self-image sort of thing. So York kind of took over Zack's body, and Zack went away into his mind because York's more of like the stronger version of the two. He represents like the stronger side of Francis Morgan, and it's kind of confusing really. But like when Emily is dying due to Casein, York realizes that he is in fact Zack, and that's why he switches places with him back, and Zack comes out of the red room, which is I'll explain that later on. Yeah, so then once York has switched with Zack, York and Emily both go to the afterlife together because it's just a love story. They love each other. They go to the afterlife, so which leaves Zack alone in the real world. That's kind of so basically just York was created to be the stronger version of Francis Morgan, and Zack was away in his mind for all those years since he was a child. Now there is a bit more to it really, because earlier on in the game you come across several townsfolk that talk about Morgan's scar. But if you looked at York's scar, it was just tiny. It wasn't much. But if you looked at Zack's scar, you can see it's the scar from when Casein was hitting him when he was young, and it just goes across his face, which suggests that York is merely a self-image, and everyone just sees him as Zack. So when he says to someone in the town, "Oh, please call me York," he's actually saying, "Please call me Zack," but to himself he's saying, "Call me York." So pretty much think of it as two people in one body, sort of thing. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the other world. Now there are several theories towards this, and there is no definitive theory. There are several possible theories in the sense that it could have been an effect of the gas that was caused by the military in the 1950s. Now that's probably like one of the main theories, but a lot of other popular theories are that it's all in just York's mind, and it represents the pressure that he's going through when he's trying to catch the killer, which could be applied to Emily because when she was in the clock tower, she was under pressure finding York. So it's more or less just in their heads, just the pressure that they're trying to go through this situation. In the enemies in the other worlds, they could probably just, they just probably not there if you go take the previous theory in mind. But they say things that Zack's mother says, like, "I don't want to die and kill me." If you've seen the scene with Zack's mother, you will notice that she says these things as well. And it's possible that the enemies are an echo of Zack's past. But it could also mean that the enemies are victims of the red seeds on York's past cases, because as you know at the start, York has been going through a few cases involving young women, which were victims of Casein, and they were victims of the red seeds as well, so it kind of just all balances together. Okay, so the murders, like George's club he made. George he was just obsessed with, he was more of a, he wanted power. He wanted to be immortal, just like Casein. So when he saw the effects of the red seed, he sort of thought, "Oh, I'll sacrifice Anna and see what happens then." So he sacrifices Anna. That's where the game starts. Nothing yet, so he thinks, "Oh, I think I might kill Becky next," because Becky was part of the club as well. But Becky was also killed because she knew too much about the club and George, and it wasn't really safe keeping her alive. So that's why he killed her as well. But Becky had also sent the evidence to Diane, the locket and everything. So so then the killer George had to then kill Diane, which more puts pressure onto York with there being more murders in, and that's probably why there are more otherworld sequences later on in the game. And like I said before, York's past cases involved the Red Seeds, which meant they were victims of Casein as well. About the red and the white room, it's not really explained this. It's mainly just like it could be in York's mind, but it could also be an alternate dimension. When you see characters in the white room or the red room, it's more of like a deja vu sort of thing, really. It could be York's mind, but it could be just another place, really. And Zack just stays there in his time away from the real world when he's in York's mind. So I'm letting this really just up to the player to decide what the Red Room really is. Okay, so that's pretty much the best explanation I could give. I know it's not very good, but I didn't really see any other videos about this on YouTube or much on the internet really. To do with the ending, so I hope that I've cleared everything up for you. If there still are any questions you need to ask, just put them in the comments and I'll answer them if I can.